today I'm going to be doing the second part of my July wrap-up. I just read way too many books this month to cram all into one video, and I like talking about them like more in depth. The wrap-up videos for me are something like mini reviews, and I want to tell you what these books are about and what I thought of them in like more than just 2 sentences. So yeah, that's why I split them up into videos, so the videos are not crazy long and I still get to say all the things I want to say. So let's get started with part 2. Part 1 will be linked below if you haven't seen it already, and I hope you enjoyed this video. The next book was Life of Pi by Jan Martel. I enjoyed this book, but there were some very slow beginnings happening here. It's quite hard to get into this book, but it was great and I loved the ending. It was very graphic at times, but if you don't know the plot twist at the end, go for it, read it. I'd say if you know it, maybe it might not be worth it, but if you haven't been spoiled yet, go for it and read it and then watch the movie, because all the anxiety at the ocean scenes, which is like 3/4 of the movie, so not the best movie for me to watch. But it's still a good movie. It's still a good movie. Next book is probably the only book I didn't enjoy this month. Yeah. Deep Blue by Jennifer Donnelly. Donnelly? Yeah. The first book in the Waterfire saga. This is a mermaid story about... I forgot what this book was about. Wait. Right. This one girl is like, she's a princess of this mermaid kingdom. At her betrothal, this is not going anywhere. On the day when she's supposed to be promised to this other prince of another kingdom, kind of assassins or like bad people come into the kingdom, and then she has this recurring dream. Does she? I think so. I hope I'm not telling you stupid stuff that I'm just making up in my head. But I think she had like recurring dreams that call like of a water witch, and they call her and other people, princesses, people, to the cave of the water witch. Water witch is not a word. That one water, I'm still gonna keep saying sea witch. That, I think she's a sea witch and stuff, and they have like powers and stuff. And it's not a good story. It's like written for a 5-year-old, I'm not gonna lie. I think not even a 5-year-old would enjoy this. It's immaturely and childishly written, and the story is dull, and I like got 0 things from it. There's too much made up words. Literally everything in this book has a specific name, and it just bothered me to no end. Also because the author couldn't decide on one language. Like, at least pick one fucking language and not 50. It was very confusing and annoying most of the time, and I just didn't enjoy it at all. The only good things were no romance, good job on feminist and like female heroines, awesome, and also multiculturalness happening, because there's 5 princesses, I'm not sure the princesses, but like the 5 girls, is it 5 girls? I think it's 5. That like meet up with the sea witch and have like a destiny to fulfill or something. They're all from different parts of the world and like underwater world, but yeah, from the world basically. And that's good. Like, that's all good things, you know, but if you don't incorporate those in a good story and write great characters and just make this book into something that like people will actually enjoy, then there's no point in that. So really not a good book. The next book I read, still for the Booktubeathon I believe, was Knife Edge by Mallory Blackman, the sequel to Noughts and Crosses. Book number 2 was just as fantastic as book number 1, and if the rest of the series can keep up as well, then this might just be on the best way to becoming my favorite series ever. Then after the Booktubeathon I was kind of like still on the roll, and I read Ravaged by David Wellington, sort of already for the Underhyped Readathon, but I have no idea if this is an Underhyped book. I just know that I haven't heard about this thing ever. But yeah, great second book, great ending to this duology, and it definitely was able to keep up with book 1. There is some romance in this now, but it's not like the kind of romance you think of when you hear the word romance, if you know what I mean. This is more like simple thing like, hey, I'm attracted to you. Cool, I'm attracted to you too. Do you wanna, like, okay. See, that's like, you know, that's good romance. That's good realistic. That's like more realistic romance than like, oh, I don't know. Do you think he likes I don't know what to do. Oh, my heart is broken. What is happening to me? I'm having some kind of a seizure right now. I'm sorry. This is not YA romance. It's not even adult romance. This is just like they're sleeping together because they're literally pretty much the only female and male werewolf around. So, what else could they do? If you've read this book, you know what. But still, the only book I actually like properly read for the Unlit Readathon, which was also in my TBR, was Underwater by Elizabeth the Diamond. This is about a woman whose little brother went missing when they were children. No, he didn't go missing. He was like 17 already or something, and he just walked out on them and never came back. And essentially, I thought this book was mainly going to be about her like finding out what happened to him. And while it is her main incentive throughout the story, like that's her driving force, it isn't what most of the book is about. It's mainly just about her past and discovering what happened in her past, because she's a very secretive person and she doesn't really want to talk about things, and she has like an estranged husband and a disabled child, and they don't live with her anymore because she just wasn't able to cope with that. And it's just a whole, like, it's basically like a character study on the protagonist, and it's fascinating. It is. It's really, really great. I thought this book is way better than I originally anticipated, because for some reason, when a book is underhyped, you always feel like, okay, there's gotta be a reason for that. But that's not true. Like, some books just somehow don't make it into the spotlight, but that doesn't mean that they're not at least just as good as the rest that do make it. And I think this book, like, if you liked, what was it called? Dark Places by Gillian Flynn? Gillian, I know. Gillian, I'm sorry. If you like Dark Places by Gillian Flynn, then this is like a similar thing. It's not at all like the same thing. It's a similar sort of story. And yeah, I thought this was great and I really enjoyed it. Next, I read another short book, and that is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, another book that I got at YALC, and that was just overdue, so long overdue. I have a poster on that wall of it as well. It says, "Be a little kinder than you have to," and it's fantastic. As far as this book is concerned, it is totally, totally worth the hype. It is really, really great. Like, when I finished it, I was like, I need to reread this again, because I missed like I mean, it's not like there's really obvious clues, because obviously, if they were too obvious, you'd have gotten there. And you're not supposed to say too much about this book, I know that. So I'm not gonna even tell you what it's about. But you should totally go and pick it up. It's going to mess with your head. It's going to give you all of the feels, because I had all of the feels, like, just the entire time through, basically. I don't even know why. It just put me in a weird, like, mind spot for some reason. It wasn't that it was super sad throughout the entire story. It just did something to me. I don't know why. I think it's just the atmosphere and the way it was written. It just did something to me. And when I was reading, I was just like, maybe it's the anticipation, because you know that when you finish it, like everybody says when you finish it, you're just like, your mind is blown and you're just like, what the fuck just happened? So maybe that's it. Maybe that's what kind of made me so, what's that word? Apprehensive, I guess. But I had anxiety while I was reading it. It was like, oh my god, what if this and what if that? Oh my god, what if, I don't know what. It's crazy that a book that is actually just like 200 something pages can draw you in so crazily and so completely and mess with your head so much. And I just really, really, really enjoyed this, like really. And the last book I'm going to show you in this video, oh my god, that was a very long thing happening. It's actually kind of cheating because I finished it on August the 1st, but because it's like 600 pages and I read most of them in July, I'm still gonna include it. And it's Priestess of the White by Trudy Canavan. This is the first book I read by Trudy Canavan that was not part of the Sashika and Kiralia universe. And so this is a completely different story in theory. In practice, it just felt like a whole lot of recycled material from her other world. And I'm not sure how the timeline is, like if she wrote these books before the Magician's stuff. So I don't know which is copied from which. So maybe if you write 7 books in one universe, I can understand how that can maybe bleed over in all of your other works, because that's just the universe you know so well. But it just seemed like so many things that are just like, this is essentially the same thing, just in a different universe, but the universe is also not that different in itself. Basically, this book is about Oriah, who at the very beginning of the book becomes one of the White, which is the 5 representatives of the gods. There are 5 gods, and they have 5 human representatives. And she's chosen to be one out of all high priestesses. And there's things such as gifts in this world, which means some people just have like magical powers in some way or another. That's another thing that like kind of bothered me, because these gifts seem so arbitrary and so like, here, have all of it. Like just random, like super random, and basically there's no rules to it, there's no limitations, like anything can be a gift. It kind of reminded me in parts of Graceling, like of Graces, because they're also kind of arbitrary, but the thing is people can have more than one gift, especially if you're one of the White apparently, because Oriah just gets like all of the gifts like all the time, and it's just what? And also her romance with Laird is kind of strange because he's like 20 years older than her, and it's kind of like Acheron and Sornea, but just not as good and just not with as much feels behind it, I guess. And that could be because she can read his mind, and that sort of takes away all of the will they, won't they, because as soon as she reads his mind and he's like, oh, I kind of like you, she's like, oh wait, maybe I kind of like you too. Okay, let's just sleep together. I'm like, what? And I used to be of the opinion that Trudy Canavan can't write a bad book, and I still don't think she can. This is not a bad book, it's just not up to par with everything else she's written, as far as I know, and it's just not as good as I kind of wanted it to be, and it's not as good as I expected it to be. It's not different enough, and it's not a different enough universe for me to be able to fully appreciate this. So that's it, you guys, for my hyper long wrap-up video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you had an equally awesome reading month in July, and I will see you soon. Bye!